Why, Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your service. I know it's tough. I'd like to just start with one sort of big picture item. Is it a correct reading of that plot that we looked at earlier, that with a flat budget, you don't get to the moon and you certainly don't get to Mars? Is that a correct?
I think it would be quite a challenge with a flat budget to do that.
Right, and that's true both for a flat budget and one that's even inflation adjusted, that flat including inflation.
Yeah, we think that we actually think the including inflation we can do this. We've done the models, we've run the numbers to say if we
And
get
that assumes shutting down the ISS at some appropriate
Absolutely.
time. But
Absolutely.
without shutting down the ISS, it's a non-starter.
Again, it depends on when we shut it down, because that study showed 24 and 28. I mean, there's options in there in the middle, if that makes sense. I mean, there's other times we can do
No,
it.
yeah, you can shut it down when you decide to.
Right.
But you need that money to even return to the moon.
I believe so, to build the entire system to do that, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, and then now if you talk about.
That's why we have the plan we have, right? It's what we're showing to get off of it in 2024.
Now, if you talk about missions to Mars, an obvious suggestion is to have international partners, taking a significant fraction of that. There's a lot and growing enthusiasm among, other countries. And what is your attitude towards collaboration for a Mars mission with other countries?
Yeah, all of this we're trying to do, we think is going to be a great opportunity not only for industry partners in the country, but also international partners. Last week I was in Japan at the International Space Exploration Forum, and I was able to brief all our international partners that work with us on the space station on what we're trying to do. They're all very interested in coming forward to help us not only at the moon, but also as we go to Mars. That's our plan all along, is to include that. That's one of the differences between the 60s and now, is we have other players that want to come and be part of this. They just need us to lead.
And the other thing that is potentially really changing are the increased capabilities of artificial intelligence and robotics. That you have robots today doing things that are, could only be done by people, even a few years ago. And so this is an opportunity to really knock some cost out of future missions by either having, robots precede people, it seems like there is a shift in focus in that direction now, where you're talking about, relatively sophisticated robotic first missions, and then deferring the much more expensive manned component, as necessary to meet your budgetary constraints.
Yeah, we're using robotics today. To your point, we're using robotics on the International Space Station, actually doing things robotically that 10 years ago we needed crew time for. We'll take things when SpaceX flies to the station today, for instance, they carry instruments in the trunk in the unpressurized cargo area for the SpaceX. While the crew's asleep, we take the arm, we pull it out, we do it all robotically from the ground. You can do the same thing from the platform at the moon. You can do robotic operations of landers on the moon, so it goes both ways.
Sure. You can have,
the advances are incredible.
Yeah, the old dream of having self-replicating factories on the moon, using completely robotic equipment, these sort of things. People are making, prototypes of components of that on Earth, and it's something that actually the next generation should get very excited about, because these sort of, prototype facilities on Earth could really lead the way for, orders of magnitude reduction in the cost of future missions.
Yeah, we believe our International Space Station lets us demonstrate that in space as well.
Okay, now in my last time, I'd like to go to something very microscopically focused, which is the choice of using high-enriched uranium or low-enriched uranium for power sources. There is a huge difference in the danger, the proliferation danger and the terrorist danger between high-enriched uranium and low-enriched uranium. If you have weapons-grade high-enriched uranium and a terrorist steals it, they can, without much sophistication, make a nuclear weapon. On the other hand, if they steal low-enriched uranium, they have to go and build a centrifuge hall and so on. And so it's almost useless to them. And so, I'm a little puzzled why you seem to have both high-enriched uranium and low-enriched uranium for propulsion and for surface power in different parts of your program. And I was wondering specifically, have you looked at the real costs of security when you choose high-enriched uranium? That means you need armed guards, you need barbed wire, you need everything. And it's very expensive because of the terrorist threat if you choose if you choose high enriched uranium, you know, it does make a slightly more compact design for typical reactor applications. But I'd encourage you to look hard at seeing if you can lead the world in standardizing on low enriched uranium.
Yeah, we've been working on technologies for that, for the exact reason you're talking about. It is high enriched uranium creates a lot of extra challenges there. We've been looking at for power and propulsion. What I'd like to do is let our team bring you, provide you a report on what we've been doing in LEU, and how we're trying to use it in the applications we see going forward. Would that be okay?
Yeah, it'd be very good. Yeah, I mean, there was a letter from a long list of Nobel Prize winners just focusing on how the United States should lead. There's a danger also that countries which are not necessarily nuclear countries will say, we need a large inventory of high enriched uranium, not to build bombs, but for their space program. And so if there's a technological way to avoid this, I just really encourage you to try to lead the world towards exclusively using non-weapons grade uranium for your programs.
Okay, thank you. Gentleman's time has expired, and I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it is always a challenge on the Republican side to follow Mr. Rohrabacher from California, but here we go.